Now, we'll start with what we really want to know: how anaphylaxis really happens. First, let's talk about the immunological mechanism of anaphylaxis. Of course, it begins when an allergen enters the body. An antigen-presenting cell, or APC, like a dendritic cell, internalizes antigen. The APC processes the internalized antigen. The APC then presents the processed peptide to CD4-positive T lymphocytes via MHC2. After the peptide is presented, the T cell differentiates into Th2 lymphocytes and produces interleukin 4, 5, 9, and 13. IL-4 and 13 cause B-cell immunoglobulin isotype switching to IgE. The circulating IgE binds to the IgE receptors in mast cell, which is the high-affinity IgE receptor for the Fc region. Upon exposure and entry of an antigen, similar to the original antigen, this antigen cross-links the mast cell surface-bound IgE, resulting in cellular degranulation. Preformed mediators such as histamine and tryptase are released into granulation. The metabolism of arachidonic acid in the cell membrane produces other mediators, such as prostaglandins and leukotrienes. This time, let's relate the effects of the molecules released by mast cells to the symptoms of anaphylaxis. The enzymes tryptase, chymase, cathepsin G, and carboxypeptidase remodel the connective tissue matrix. Tryptase in itself causes pruritus, vasodilation, erythema, leukocyte infiltration, and local induration, thus suggesting a role for tryptase in cutaneous inflammation and itching. This said pruritus is experienced not only on the skin, but also on various mucosal surfaces and body cavities, such as the nose, throat, mouth, and external auditory canals. Tryptase also calls for more specialized WBCs, such as eosinophils, basophils, and neutrophils for the late phase response. Histamine and heparin, which are toxic to parasites, increase vascular permeability to allow the WBCs and defense proteins to leave the blood vessels and infiltrate the pathogen-containing tissue. This event ultimately leads to vascular leakage, and the accumulation of RBCs and fluids in the tissues manifest as erythema, angioedema, and urticaria. These molecules also cause smooth muscle contraction and increased mucus production, thus resulting to increased peristalsis in the GIT, which is the reason behind the fecal urgency or incontinence, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting with stringy mucus, and abdominal pain. Another result would be the decreased diameter of the airways, or bronchoconstriction and bronchospasm, which cause the rhinorrhea, dysphagia, dysphonia, hoarseness, dry staccato cough, shortness of breath, dyspnea, chest tightness, deep cough, wheezing, and stridor, and contribute to the congestion and blockage of airways, together with the edema of the lips, tongue, oropharynx, larynx, or mucosa. The smooth muscles of the genitourinary tract are also affected, thus leading to uterine cramps and urinary urgency or incontinence. Prostaglandin E1 and leukotriene C4, D4, and E4 also cause smooth muscle contraction, increase vascular permeability, and stimulate mucus secretion, thus having the same consequences as what were stated before. They also stimulate prolonged bronchoconstriction, with the leukotrienes being 10 to 1,000 times more potent than histamine, and the prostaglandin being 100 times less potent than leukotrienes. Platelet activating factor induces wheal and flare skin reactions and systemic hypotension, increases lung resistance, attracts leukocytes, amplifies production of lipid mediators, and activates neutrophils, eosinophils, and platelets. Other preformed mediators are also packed inside the granules. Now, looking back at the signs and symptoms discussed, why are the blood vessels, skin, respiratory, gastrointestinal, and genitourinary the most involved body systems in anaphylaxis? That's mainly because mast cells, which are the key player of this reaction, are primarily distributed throughout normal connective tissues, where they often lie adjacent to blood and lymphatic vessels, near or within nerves, or beneath the epithelial linings of the aforementioned body systems that are exposed to the external environment. Reactions that are not immunologically mediated are called non-allergic anaphylaxis, and reactions that are not IgE mediated are anaphylactoid reactions. IgE-mediated reactions occur based on adaptive immunity, while non-IgE-mediated reactions occur through innate immunity, specifically by acute phase response, wherein previous sensitization is not required. Anaphylaxis is a type 1 or immediate hypersensitivity and is also based on humoral immunity, which has a quicker response than cell-mediated immunity found in type 4 hypersensitivity. Most anaphylactic reactions follow a uniphasic reaction course. However, approximately 20% follow a biphasic course after an asymptomatic period of 1 to 8 hours. Now, to wrap things up, let's discuss how anaphylactic shock happens. The vascular leakage, which was discussed earlier, causes a continuous depletion in the amount of blood that is free to circulate and that can be pumped by the heart. This leads to hypovolemia, hypotension, and hypoxia, which is also due to the bronchoconstriction. These events cause the cardiovascular signs and symptoms, such as faintness, arrhythmias, syncope, chest pain, and finally, shock. Hypoxia would cause the failure of cell metabolism, which would ultimately lead to death. Even though hypovolemic shock is one of the end results, anaphylactic shock is considered to be a type of distributive shock, and that's what anaphylaxis truly is.